I get many people asking me about how to do low risk but high reward football trades on Betfair, and the type of trades where you can turn a small amount into a big amount. And so this video right now is going to be all about exactly that. And coming up, I'm going to be showing you some low risk, high reward football trades. And the best thing about this is none of this is going to be theory. It is going to be my own real life football trades, some of the more notable trades that I did last season. All right. So over the course of this video, you're going to see how a total of £140 was risked and a total of £1,577 was made. All right. That is a low risk and a pretty high reward. All right. And a quick disclaimer before we get started, I do want to say that this video really is for educational purposes only, all right? The point of this video isn't to say, hey, look at me, look at the profits I made and all that sort of thing. The whole point of the video is so you can learn from some of the trades I've done. You can get an idea of the thinking behind the trades, the thinking behind the entry point, the thought process as it develops, and much more. And in the future, you could apply this to your own football trading. So I think there is a lot that you should be able to learn from this video if you really pay attention. All right, I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. So we'll start with what was probably the match of the season last season, unless you're a Barcelona fan, that is. So Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0. I'm pretty sure most of you can remember that. It was at the tail end of the 18-19 season, so it's still quite fresh in my memory to recall this one. So this match, this was the final profit that was produced from this, and the initial risk was £60. Okay, so it was a £60 risk into the market, very low risk, to turn it into an £820 profit on Liverpool after they qualified. Okay, so my entry point into this trade, it was a lay of Barcelona in the to qualify market. Okay, I just want to make that totally clear for everyone. If you remember, Barcelona were 3 goals up after the first leg, 3-0 up, and they were into 1.06 to qualify. Okay, so I laid them at 1.06 with £1,000 stake, which meant that my risk was actually only £60. Okay, and when you're laying at 1.06, I'm pretty prepared to lose that whole £60 because I might not actually get a chance to trade it out. But that was the initial entry into the market. It was a lay of Barcelona at 1.06. with £1,000 stake and £60 of risk. And of course, a lot of you watching this who haven't heard me explain my reasons for doing this before, you're probably like, why on earth would you have done that? Okay, Barcelona, 3 goals up after the first leg. Do you really think Liverpool are going to go on and win this 3-0 or 4-0 and qualify? Is that what you really thought? Well, of course not. Of course not. I did not enter into this really thinking that Liverpool were actually going to qualify. But as a football trader, that's not your thought. That's not your frame of thought when you're entering into these situations. Your frame of thought is always, can I get a higher price in play? So that's more what I was concerned about. Did I think Barcelona's price of 1.06 was going to be trading higher in play? I thought definitely the odds were on my side for that to happen. Okay, so anyway, let me just explain how the trade developed a little bit before I get into more detail. Now, what happened was, if I remember this correctly, now, so I entered the market at the beginning of the match, laying Barcelona to qualify at 1.06. Now, my thought was that Liverpool were the better team in the first leg and probably didn't deserve to be losing 3-0. And I also thought, you know what, Barcelona could afford to lose this match 1-0, could afford to lose it 2-0 even. So I thought, you know what, I fancy Liverpool to win this match tonight, right? So if I fancy them to win this match tonight, I also fancy them to score. And my thought process was that basically if Liverpool are going to win this, then they're going to have to score, right? And if they can get an early goal, then that could be enough to really raise the price of the 1.06 high enough so that I can then sell the risk of the bet and then just give myself a free bet on Liverpool to qualify at that particular point. So I was ideally looking for an early goal from Liverpool in this. And if you remember right, I actually got the early goal that I wanted. Annoyingly, though, the price on Barcelona to qualify didn't really rise that high. I think it went up to like 1.12. So selling the risk of the bet at that point would only have given me a £500 free bet on Liverpool to qualify at that point. So I didn't really feel like the value was there to just get out of the market at that point, especially because I felt Liverpool had the momentum. And then it was that thought of, well, do you know what? If they can get the second goal in the first half, then this price should really, really swing. And then I can get out, right? But at the same time, look, I have entered this trade knowing that it is a bit of a long shot trade. And my main aim really is to just try and sell the risk of the trade. But I still just didn't like the price that was available at that point, just because of the way Liverpool were playing at that point. Absolutely all over Barcelona like a rash, all right? But I just thought I'd let it play out and see what happens and see if I can get the chance, because I wanted the odds to rise a little bit higher. So anyway, let it run. I let it run all the way to half-time. And then by half-time, the price was back in to lay Barcelona at 1.06. It was back at where it started at kickoff. And at that point, I was kind of tempted to double up and go for it again. But at the same time, I did feel like, I am kind of looking for a bit of a miracle for Liverpool to actually pull it off. So I just thought, I'm just going to stick with my original plan. Let's see if I can get an early goal in the beginning of the second half, and then I should definitely be able to sell the risk of the trade and give myself a nice free bet on Liverpool. And so the second half begun, and then this is where I could definitely say I had a bit of a stroke of luck with the trade, okay? But as they say, you got to be in it to win it. Now, what happened was, as you can kind of see from the Betfair data there as well, remember, Liverpool went 2-0 up and then scored the third goal very, very quickly. So the price on Barcelona when Liverpool went 2 goals up, I think it rose to about 1.3 or around there, yeah? And at that point, I was definitely ready to sell the risk and give myself the free bet on Liverpool to see what would happen. But as I was just planning to do that, the markets went suspended. Liverpool went 3 up. I remember actually when it happened, I saw the markets went suspended, when the ball wasn't anywhere near either goal. And I was almost cursing my luck, thinking it was Barcelona who had scored. But no, it actually went my way. It doesn't always go your way when those things happen, but it went my way, and it actually put me in this situation that you can see now. Okay, so now I sold the risk by pretty much backing Barcelona around 1.6 or something like that, which put me virtually zero on Barcelona. Obviously, it's all a bit crazy. I can't remember the precise prices that were matched. But yeah, I only needed £100 to remove the risk. And that gave me a £900 free bet on Liverpool, okay? And at the same time, what you can see from the screenshot, you can see the cash out amount was pretty juicy as it was, a £332 locked in guaranteed return at this particular point. And I know a lot of people would have taken that. I mean, that's still a pretty good return on the investment, the £332 at that particular point. But for me, again, I just looked at the prices and I didn't think it was right, because Liverpool in play in the match just had all the momentum. and I really, especially if this was 55 minutes, okay, I just really fancied Liverpool to go and get another goal, because yeah, like I said, they were just all over Barcelona. It really looked like Barcelona were completely panicking. And for me, these prices didn't look right. I thought it was pretty much a 50-50 shot at this particular point. I think Liverpool should have been around maybe 2.1, Barcelona 1.9. So again, the prices, they just didn't look right to me. So there was no way I was just going to cash out at that particular point. And again, remember, I entered this trade initially prepared to lose £60, okay? Then we got what we needed with selling the risk, And then I just said, hey, I'm going to leave a free bet on Liverpool. And look, if Barcelona went on to win the tie from there, then I would have broken even. And, I've been in this game for so long now that I wouldn't have the sleepless nights to think about, hey, do you know what? I could have locked in the £300 and, why didn't I lock that in? I should have locked that in. That's what a lot of novices can go through, for sure. But I'm just a big believer that, you got to kind of stick to your guns. And if it doesn't work out, you can't kick yourself at all. So in this case, I looked at it. I just still thought the prices were all wrong. And I thought Liverpool had the momentum to at least go 4-0 up. And then I thought if it goes 4-0 up, I'm really, really going to get a nice swing. And then I could definitely cash it out at that particular point, okay? So anyway, sat back, watched the match, and then Liverpool did go 4 goals up. And we've got the screenshot here. Now, they went 4-0 up. It must have been around the 78th minute, okay? So as it stands right now, Liverpool are now going to qualify, all right? And you can see the cash out there. So I could have equalized this for a £635 profit. But what you can see, what I did was it was a lay of Liverpool of £200 at 1.41. So I put £200 on Barcelona because, again, I just still thought that all the momentum was with Liverpool. But by this point, and because I am only human, for all this hard work, I do want to make something out of this trade. I do want to make some money, okay? And a goal for Barcelona, if it went 4-1, if you remember the situation, that would be an away goal for Barcelona, and then that one goal would send Barcelona through. And when they've got a player like Leo Messi on the pitch, it wasn't really a chance I wanted to take because he could produce a moment of magic out of nowhere. So I did say, hey, do you know what? I'm going to take at least £200 if Barcelona were to turn this around, but I left the 820 on Liverpool. Just because I just thought Liverpool were still underestimated by the market at that point, 1.4. I started to think Liverpool would make it 5, if anything, if you really had to ask me if there was going to be another goal. So, I mean, what you've got a good example here of is the fact that I haven't cashed this out. I haven't equalized the profit on both sides. And by not doing that, I've left myself a bigger upside, okay, on Liverpool. So if Liverpool went on to win that, I win £820, all right? If Barcelona did turn it around, then I've got a consolation prize of £200. And I always think it is worth doing that. You get a lot of novices just press the cash out button and then they move on. But when you're in these positions, you are in a position of strength. And it's important to keep that in mind. Like I've got all that money sitting on Liverpool. They're currently the favourite. If there's no more goals or if they score another goal, they're definitely qualifying. So again, why would I completely equal that out? If Barcelona really, really pressed, and this is what I was prepared to do in the final stages of the match, I was very prepared to cash it out if Barcelona really, really started to look dangerous. But they didn't. I mean, you could go and replay the final 10 minutes and the injury time of that match, and you'll see that Barcelona didn't really cause much of a scare. I was waiting. I was going to maybe lay Liverpool when they hit 1.1 or something like that, because then I could lay for £100 of risk and then leave maybe £1,000 plus on Barcelona. So then it would be like a 1,200 return if they would have nicked it late on. But I was ready. I was ready and waiting to do that, but nothing materialized to really make me do that. So in the end, you know what the final result was. And so this was the final screen in the end. I just wanted to, I did take the screenshot just to prove that I didn't bottle it and lay Liverpool even more. I just completely stuck to the guns. So in the end, it was a £60 initial risk turned into £820, and it's like a 1,300% return on that initial investment. And I did get a lot of questions from people trying to tell me it was a bit of a silly trade and whatever, all that sort of thing. Now, a lot of people when they do say that to me, it's because they're thinking of it as a bet. Now, if you were to ask me if I wanted a straight £60 bet where I can't do any trading on Liverpool to qualify that night, then I don't think I'm wasting my £60. All right, I'm keeping my £60 in my pocket. But if you're telling me I've got the chance to trade out that bet, should Liverpool push Barcelona and maybe get that early goal or a 2-goal lead or something like that, then absolutely, because I could definitely see Liverpool winning that night. And Liverpool to win the match were around, I think they're around evens, or was it 2.3 or something like that. And if I put £60 on Barcelona to just win that match, I'm probably only returning around £120, right? But by putting it in the to qualify market as a trade, well, yeah, you can see I in the end returned 820. We could have returned more if I didn't take some money out on laying Liverpool at that particular point. So yeah, I mean, one big thing to take from this example is that I didn't enter the trade because I believed that Liverpool were going to qualify, or that there was even value on Liverpool to qualify. There wasn't even what I was thinking about. What I was just thinking about is, am I going to get the chance to take the risk out of the trade and give myself a free chance, a free bet at winning a very big return on my investment? And I thought the chances were very, very good that I was at least going to be able to get the risk out of the market. All right. And that is the most important thing for me, because I always say, once I get the risk out of the market, then anything could happen, right? Anything could happen. And, I have done plenty of these trades where I take the risk out and then I got a nice free bet sitting on the other side, but then nothing transpires. The favorite gets back into it, and then, nothing won, nothing gained. It doesn't really turn into a great story. But this one, it was a great match, and it was also a great trade in the end as well. And so moving on to what was a very interesting trade from last season, and this was a match from Portugal, and it was laying Porto, big team in Portugal, as you know, when they were 2 goals up. All right, so this was the pretty much the final green screen right at the end of the match, and it was laying Porto at 1.02, and it was £20 of risk to produce what in the end was £517 of profit as it finished in a 2-2 draw. So very low risk, high reward, very big return on your investment. And I remember when I shared this trade on Twitter or social media in general, and just ruffled a few feathers, because you start to get comments from people who, they'll ask you, say, oh, what's your strike rate laying teams at 1.02? And they ask you that as if I'm some sort of madman that goes around laying teams at 1.02 or 1.01. And I always say, in football especially, maybe not in tennis or something like that, or cricket, but in football especially, I very, very rarely actually lay teams as low as 1.02 or 1.01, because usually the match is pretty much done and there isn't really any sort of value or any sort of opportunity in laying teams at those very, very low prices in football. So what happened in this one, it was an interesting, what I thought was an opportunity, okay? Porto went 2 goals up, and they were 2-0 up in the first half. As you can actually see it here. You can see it demonstrated here. So they were 2-0 up very early on in the first half. Now, what I always said about this trade was it was a stroke of luck on my part, and I was kind of in the right place at the right time to take advantage of it, in that I'd actually finished all my football trading for the day. This match was on a little bit later on at night. So I'd finished all my football trading for the day, and just so it happened, I'd had a profitable day. So usually if I have a bad day, I shut off everything. I shut off all football and all that sort of thing. But if I have a good day, I'll probably leave something like flash scores open and see if another opportunity presents itself. Sometimes you're just on a roll and you got to take advantage of it, right? So I remember, I'd had a good day, and then there was I looked to see what was on while I was just kind of going through some email. I saw the Porto match was on. Porto were 2-0 up, and just from my own football knowledge, I already don't feel like there's much of an opportunity there. But I thought I would let the second half begin to play, and just see what happens. I wasn't really expecting Porto to throw away a 2-goal lead. They were like a 1.25 starting price. But I did think when I looked at the prices, I thought when Porto were 2-0 up at half-time, they were 1.02 to lay and 1.01 to back. So again, I mean, it is Porto, and I just didn't really think there was anything in it too much. But then the second half began, and all of a sudden the home team were looking like the better team. And it's one of those situations where I said years of football trading experience starts to go in your favour in these moments, because looking at the action on the pitch and looking how likely the home team were to score a goal, I'm not saying they're going to come back, but they were looking very likely to grab a goal themselves. And 1.02 was definitely not the right price in that particular moment. And I always say a lot of in-play football trading, sports trading in general, it is looking for prices that are wrong in a moment and then looking for that price to correct. So in that moment, I did not think Porto looked like a 1.01 shot. I definitely wouldn't want to be backing them at 1.01 with the way they were playing. I thought that the home team looked decent. So anyway, I got in the market, and it was a lay of £1,000 at 1.02, which was only a £20 risk. Okay, so obviously that sounds big to those who are novices here, but I wasn't putting in £1,000 into the market. I was actually putting in £20. Okay, a small downside and a very, very big upside. Now, don't get me wrong. I was expecting it to lose, because I would need the home team to score a goal to at least give me the opportunity to do something with the trade. So yeah, this is not a trade where I'm putting in the money into the market expecting to win. But of course, you don't need a very high strike rate to profit long term with these sorts of trades. I mean, £20 risk and then producing £500 plus profit means I could probably lose around 24 trades in a row and then hit a winner on the 25th. So when you're entering these sorts of low risk, high reward trades, one big tip as well that I could probably give to you is to accept you're probably not going to win that trade. All right. So I just put the money in the market, and then I just carried on with my emails and all that sort of thing. There's no point really sweating it too much and watching the match and all that sort of stuff. You just may as well just put it in and just see what happens. As it so happens, if I probably watched the match, I might have laid Porto even more, because there was a lot of money matched on them at 1.01, and the home team were still looking pretty good. So anyway, there's one tip for you. Remember, I entered this trade expecting to lose, all right? And a lot of novices or newbies, I mean, they must think I'm talking a different language right now. Entering a trade expecting to lose? No, you don't do that. But that's what you have to do. I mean, if you're taking value on these kind of long shot trades, low risk, high reward, you have to expect to lose the majority of the time, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. But anyway, with this trade, like I said, it was just getting in the market. I'm happy with just losing that £20 of risk if the home team can't get back into it. And I was just doing my emails, and then I remember checking around the 75th minute, and it was still 2-0. I hadn't really heard anything from the flash scores, so I wasn't really expecting much. And like I said, I think if I'd have focused on the match a bit closer, I might have gone in and laid Porto even more. But anyway, in the end, 2 very, very late goals from the home team, and I had to kind of scramble to manage my position and then make sure I definitely cashed out as well, because even when it went to 2-2, suddenly Porto were really pushing, and Porto, really, really strong team in Portugal. It wouldn't have surprised me if they went on to nick the winner and then led 3-2, which would have completely killed my trade. So in the end, I managed to lock in a pretty decent return on my investment. It has to be said. It was like I said, it's a rare trade for me to do that. I'm not a madman in the markets laying every team that hits 1.01 or 1.02. And so one thing you do have to keep in mind is that if I am going to lay a team at 1.01, 1.02, those low odds, I have to have good reason. So if you have a look at the odds, the final stats from this match, it shows you that looking at this, it was a pretty even match, wasn't it? It was the possession was pretty even, and then the goal attempts on both teams were even, exactly even in the end. So just looking at that match on its own, you don't know the teams, you don't know the odds. You would say that match probably should have finished in a draw, right? Porto were like 1.25 starting price. They were at 1.01 in play when they were 2 goals up. But, I mean, at that point, I haven't got the actual stats as it developed, but at that point, the home team actually looked like the slightly better team. So it definitely was a case of the odds when it was in play just being wrong. 1.01 was way too short on Porto, for sure, in that particular situation. And of course, if you oppose Porto in these instances, it doesn't mean that it's going to win, all right? It just means that you spotted a good opportunity where the odds are wrong, and this time it came in. And don't get me wrong, because obviously I get loads of people on social media saying, oh, why don't you share the losing trades? And one of the main reasons I don't do it, I mean, firstly, if I have a losing trade, I just move on. I move on to the next trade and just put it to the back of my mind. But secondly, if I was to share the screen, I mean, it was a lay of Porto at 1.02. It was a minus £20 red screen on Porto. I mean, am I really going to want to take a screenshot of that and then go and share that on social media? I think a lot of people would be very, very bored with that, especially because there could probably be about 5 in a row of those, of me sharing that. And I would probably start to lose followers if I did that. And at the end of the day, things like social media, that's all there for the highlights of your day. And I remember when I sent out an email talking about this, I said you get people when they go when they go out to a fancy restaurant, they take pictures of their food and then they share that, and you don't get people saying, oh, why don't you share the pictures of your regular meals? We're sharing pictures of your beans on toast that you had on Monday night. No. I mean, the world doesn't work like that. When we're on social media, we like to share the highlights. And when you're doing trades like this, the low risk, high reward trades, it can get a little bit dull with me laying teams at 1.01, 1.02 or whatever, the times when they come up, and then I lose £10, £20 or £60 like on the Liverpool trade. So it's a little bit boring, right? But then eventually when they come in, it's a nice highlight for me, and I share it on social media, but I also share it just to give you guys a few hints on the type of trades that I'm picking out and a lot of my reasoning for it and the type of trades you should probably be looking for. If you are someone who wants low risk, high reward trades, then, I mean, I've already given you quite enough reason why I got involved laying Porto in this match, and the in-play action was the reason here. It was laying Porto at 1.02. And again, I mean, if the home team were the better team in the first half and Porto were 2 goals up, but Porto were, say, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 to lay, one of those prices there, then I'm definitely not getting involved because that price is way too high considering how good Porto are. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot you have to take into account, but for me, you had 2 teams up on the day were very even. One of the teams was backed in as low as 1.01, and it was the wrong price, and it was an opportunity, and this time it paid off. And as it turns out, I wasn't the only one who spotted this great opportunity. Later on that night, I went into the live trading room of Ultimate Football Trading just to catch up and see how everyone was doing. Like I said, I wasn't actually trading. I wasn't meant to be trading when this all started to unfold. So when I went in there, I saw quite a few of my members had actually profited from this match as well. And I just got some of the screen grabs that some of them shared. And so shout out to Borja and Maverick in particular for these ones. And well done for spotting it. And at the end of the day, I mean, once you start to know what to look for with these opportunities, then yeah, you're in a good position to take advantage of them when they actually crop up. So yeah, quite a lot of people I think did well on this particular match. If you did spot that opportunity when it developed, there was one particular trader who did really, really well, a lot better than I did on this particular match actually. And it was, I'm pretty sure you can guess who it was. It was Psychoff. And he produced a profit of 7,561 euros from this, okay? And what is great about this screenshot is that you can actually see all the bets he placed. And me being an experienced football trader, I can pretty much tell you what he did just by looking at these bets. I can tell you how much he risked as well. So I can tell you that what Psychoff did initially, I expect anyway, was he went in and he had a lay of Porto at 1.01. So he waited until they touched 1.01. I laid it at 1.02. So he obviously had his reasons for waiting until it hit 1.01. Maybe it was similar to me. Maybe he wasn't meant to be trading it and he just saw the opportunity and thought, okay, I'm going to get involved. So he laid Porto 1.01 with a 2,039 euro stake, all right? But his actual risk was only 20 euros for doing this, all right? So 20 euros was risked at this moment. Now, what I'm assuming then happened next was Saikov followed the match closely. And like I said, this is what I didn't do. I didn't follow it any closer, because then I might have wanted to put more money in the market. But obviously, Saikov watched it closely, and then he saw that the draw price had risen above 100 to 1, all right? Now, at this point, you can only lay Porto at 1.01. You can't lay them any less than that. And when Porto initially hit 1.01, that probably makes the draw around the 100 to 1. But after a while, I mean, that price can go higher than 100 to 1, right? So what Saikov has done is he's headed over and backed the draw when it hit 150 to 1, all right? Because you're going to get more value back in the draw at any price above 100 rather than laying Porto at 1.01. Hope that makes sense. So what he's done is he went in and backed the draw at 150, all right, with a 48 euro stake. So his total risk on this was 68 euros. That was it. It was a 68 euro risk on this to produce 7,561 euro profit. Now, what I'm assuming then happened was once he had backed the draw at 150, the two late goals happened, and that's when he then laid the draw when that draw price went into 1.29, and that was for a 1,600 euro liability, because he would have had around 9,000 euros of green sitting on the draw. But obviously you want to even that out, because like I said, I mean, Porto really went for it after when it went to 2-2. So he did that to lock in the money at 1.29. So Saikov's trade was a pretty good one. It was a back of 150 and then a lay at 1.29. All right. So pretty good stuff. Very impressive. And like I said, I mean, that is it. That's low risk, high reward football trading, and he's produced this sort of profit from 68 euros. All right. Now, obviously, if you're going in blindly, trying to back the draw at 150 to 1, laying teams at 1.01, if you do it blindly, you're not going to succeed. You need very good reason. And in this particular example, there was very good reason, as I've mentioned a few times now. But of course, these don't come up very often. You kind of have to be in the right place at the right time to take advantage of these. So I do hope you're enjoying checking out all these examples, and if you are, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know about that. I do have time for one more low risk, high reward football trading example. But before I get into that, I do just want to quickly mention, because I do get a lot of emails about this all day, every day. The doors to Ultimate Football Trading, my premium video program, are going to be opening again very soon. Okay, if you're new, then Ultimate Football Trading is an instant portfolio. You get 8 in-play strategies to move forward with, real life video demonstrations of all the trades, and pretty much the same experience you would get if you went to a real live football trading seminar, but you just do it all from the comfort of your own device. So if you do want to learn football trading, this is a premium option that you could take up if you are someone who's serious about this and wants to take it all up a next level. And what I'm doing when I open the doors next time around as well, for those who act quick, I'm going to be definitely now throwing in my secret System X as a free bonus, okay? And this System X is going to show you how to spot and profit from similar low risk but high reward football trading opportunities, similar to what you have seen in the video today. All right, so System X is definitely what you might be looking for if you are looking for the low risk, high reward sort of stuff. And I know some did miss out on System X last time, so you definitely want to make sure that you lock it in this time. It's definitely will be confirmed as a bonus, which is going to be included alongside the package and a whole host of other stuff. I mean, we're talking a live trading room and a community, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I only open the doors to Ultimate Football Trading a few times per year. If you want to be in line for a chance to join up and sign up, you have to be on the waiting list. So click the link in the description of this email and put in your best email address to get on the waiting list. Simple as that. Put in your best email address, an email address that you definitely check regularly as well. All right, so that is that. Remember, like I said, only open the doors a few times per year. The doors are opening again very, very soon. So yeah, make sure you're in line for an invite. And so moving on to this one, this was Aston Villa 3, Sheffield United 3. And I remember this one being a sort of interesting trade. It wasn't really even the biggest return or profit in the end, which I'll explain as to why in a moment. Yeah, in the end, what we were doing here in this one, we laid Sheffield United at 1.12. It was £60 worth of risk. And it produced a £240 profit in the end. So it could have been a much bigger profit. And to tell you the truth, I completely messed up this trade, actually. I completely messed this up. So the way this match developed was Aston Villa were favourites before this match, slight favourites if I remember correctly. And if I just move this on, in fact, yeah, I can show you this and we can see how it worked out. So Aston Villa were the slight favourites for this, and I kind of had it noted down that, you know what, if Sheffield United take the lead in this, I'm going to look to lay them at some point, right? So Sheffield United were leading at half time, but I thought, you know what, let me see how the second half begins, and then I'll look to lay Sheffield United. And then the second half begun, and Sheffield United scored again, right, to make it 2-0. And at that point, if I remember correctly, Aston Villa they weren't looking too great. But in the 5 minutes after Sheffield United went 2 goals up, they started to brighten up a little bit. So I thought, you know what, that's it. I'm getting in the market. I'm going to lay Sheffield United when they're 2-0 up. And I did this. Guess when I did it? Right on the 61st minute. Okay. I went in, laid Sheffield United, and it was, let's see if we go back here. And obviously, don't quite quote me on this. I can't remember the precise numbers, but I do think it was a £500 stake, £60 of risk, laying Sheffield United at 1.12 at this particular point. And as soon as I got in the market, so the markets go suspended. Sheffield United had the ball, and then, oh no, all right, 3-0. And then the price after that went into like Sheffield United 1.02, and it was 1.03, which at that point, I was looking at having to lock out the majority of my stake as a loss. And like I said, when you go in with these low-risk, high-reward trades, you've got to be prepared to lose your full stake, because that price can easily go into 1.01 and then you can't do anything. In this case, I could have done something, but it still wasn't even worth me taking anything out. And it was still 28 minutes plus injury time to play. So just to protect myself from going on tilt or getting a little bit angry, I turned the match off the TV and just left it on flash scores, all right? And maybe that's a little tip for some of you. When a trade doesn't quite go your way, it is, in my view anyway, it always helps me to just turn the game off and get on with something else. So I remember I did that, and I thought the match was on flash scores to notify me if anything did change. But I hadn't even set that up. So I hadn't even set that up, and then I remember it getting near to what I thought was going to be full time, and then it just came to my mind that I haven't heard the full time whistle. What's going on? So I checked on flash scores. Oh yeah, I haven't even added it to the my games section or anything like that. And then the score was 2-3, and it was like 90 minutes. So I had no idea of when the goals arrived. I didn't know that the goals came on the 82nd and the 86th minute. Maybe if I'd knew that in the moment, I might have thought, you know what, there's some momentum with Aston Villa. Let's just leave it, see what happens. But I just saw it as the 90th minute, and it was 3-2 to Sheffield United. So I scrambled over to the Betfair exchange, and I could have basically got a lot of my money out of the market for almost no risk, to almost put it at a zero risk position. So that was all I cared about, because in that point in time, I had resigned this to being a losing trade, and I was going to lose the money on it. So when I suddenly had the opportunity to zero out all the risk on it, I just took it. I just took it really, really quickly, and I was pretty pleased with myself. And then, of course, just as I was doing that, markets went suspended, and I was like, oh, what is that, full time? Oh no, it's just gone free. So I actually ended up costing, I probably could have won the full 500 if I just completely forgot about it. Yeah, completely messed this trade up. And in the end, my own trading actually cost myself the profits on this one, because it was a lay of £500, Sheffield United. Like I said, I turned it off. I'd forgotten about the match for the most part. I had no notifications set. So if I had just forgotten for at least 5 minutes more, I would have probably pocketed the whole money. Pocketed the whole profit from that. I probably wouldn't have even have known. This was like a Friday night match, so I probably wouldn't have even have known about it until the next day, which would have been a nice surprise. But in the end, it was a kind of a good trade, but a not so good trade at the same time. But I mean, that is life when you're trading football. And just to quickly summarize, I just want to show you the stats from this match as well. It was a free draw in the end. But if you kind of look at the overall stats as well, you kind of start to feel, you know what, probably a draw was a fair result. And there was some pretty low prices that you could have opposed Sheffield United at. Like I said, I don't know how the match developed after it went 3-0 to Sheffield United. I don't know whether Aston Villa were looking likely to score or not score. I mean, did this completely come from nowhere, this comeback? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, in the end, I still made a profit from it. Albeit not as big a profit as maybe I should have. But like I said, it was a pretty even match as well, if you're looking at the stats. And the reason I mentioned that was just to refer you as well to the Lay the Leader video, which I could probably put a link to that in the description. But do check that out, because sometimes if you do want to lay a winning team, if you just look for situations where the losing team is either equal or the better team, then those are often the best opportunities. But anyway, it was an interesting trade there. As you know, I got there in the end with something. But I mean, that's what can happen with football trading. Sometimes the timing of the goals can end up costing you profit. And, you know, if that played out without me going back to the market, then I would have made myself a bigger profit on that one. But oh well, you live and you learn. So that was it. Laying Sheffield United at 1.12. It was a £60 risk. We, in the end, made a pretty nice return on the investment of £240, but it really should have been a lot higher than that. So that is pretty much all I do have time for in this particular video. But if you have enjoyed this style of football trading video and you want to see more videos done in this particular style with going over the trades and the analysis and all that sort of thing, then please do leave a comment below and let me know. If it is something that you guys feel you would want to see more of and it would be helpful to you, then I would enjoy doing more videos like this in the future. So leave a comment. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know. But before I go, I do want to give out some extra tips as well for anyone who's considering this low risk, high reward style of football trading. As whilst a lot of the trades, they do look amazing when you see the profits made, you have to keep in mind that a lot does go into it. So one big tip that I do want to give anyone who's watching this video, especially if you are a newbie to this, is that you have to accept that you're going to have a lot of losers. If this is your approach to football trading, this is something you have to accept and you have to live with. All right. Now, ask yourself honestly, can you handle 10 losses in a row? Could you handle that without wanting to quit, wanting to change your strategy, panicking, all that sort of thing? Can you really handle that? And obviously, these are going to be small losses that you're taking. If it is up to as much as 10 losses in a row, you're going to be taking very small losses, because eventually you're going to get that one big win, which puts you in profit. I mean, if we take the Psychoff example, I mean, it was a 70-odd euro risk, and then he made 70k, all right? So, yeah, you could easily stomach a lot of losses, 10 or losses or even more than that. And that could happen in a row before you eventually catch that big winner. Now, the average newbie, I don't think they could handle that. And I will put my neck on the line and say that easily 90% of the people watching this video right now will not be able to handle those sorts of losing runs. All right, the vast majority, you're going to hit a few losers in a row and then give up and try something else and try some sort of other approach. All right, so this way of trading football, it really isn't for everyone. Now, it looks great when you hit those winners, but yeah, there is a lot of hard work that goes into trying to produce those winners as well. So I do think that the more experienced football trader is probably the best type of trader who should approach the low risk, high reward style of trading. All right. Now, a lot of newbies are watching this and they're probably thinking, no, I want to do the low risk stuff in the beginning. But no, I actually think it should be the opposite. I think you should have a lot of market experience before you start to trade in this style, because once you've got the experience, you can probably stomach those losses a lot better than the average newbie. And on that note, similar to this, you do need to have huge patience. And like I said, I mean, it could be 10 losses in a row. It could easily be that. And it's not like it's 10 losses on one single day. It could be over a week. It could be 2 losses a day over a week or something like that. And yeah, do you have the patience? I mean, if you were to try some of these trades, you started on a Monday, and then by the next Monday you hadn't hit a winner and you'd only had losses, are you really gonna keep up with it until you eventually catch the winner? Or are you just gonna be like, no, do you know what? This isn't for me. I want to try something else. Clearly this strategy doesn't work, all that sort of thing. So yeah, you do need huge patience with this sort of approach. And again, only if you've got experience in the market will you probably have that sort of patience. And at the same time, you do need to have an eye for value. All right, we're not going in blindly laying teams at 1.01 just because they're 1.01. That is the biggest route to the poorhouse. All right, so as you've seen in the examples in this video today, there was a lot of good reason for taking on those short prices. The Barcelona one, the Porto one especially, I gave you a lot of good reason for wanting to oppose those. So yeah, if you've got a lot of good reason that for believing that the odds are wrong or they're going to trade higher, so it'll give you an opportunity to profit, then yeah, you've probably got a good opportunity. But if you think you're just going to wait until the price hits 1.01 and then you're going to get in the market and hope for the best, then yeah, again, this is not the right approach. And I think a lot of people misunderstand what we're trying to do here. It's not just laying teams blindly because they've hit 1.01. No. You need a seriously good reason for wanting to oppose such short prices, especially in football, especially. But anyway, I hope that helps. I mean, there has been a lot revealed in this video just by going over the football trades. I hope you've taken a lot out of that. You've got those extra tips right there. While you're here, for anyone who hasn't grabbed this yet, you really should do. It's a free download. It's a PDF. It's your 7 steps to football trading success. You should definitely download that. The link for this is in the description. You just click the link, put in your best email address, and it will be sent right to you. So definitely check that out. And as mentioned earlier on, remember the doors are opening very soon for the Ultimate Football Trading, the premium program. So do check that out, and remember the System X bonus is gonna be included in that too. All right, so anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Remember if you enjoyed these sorts of videos, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well, and yeah, there's some other videos here for you to check out, so make sure you definitely check those out too. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.